Welcome back, everybody, to the GameCast Newscast. I am your host, Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula, and today it is just Vox as my co-host because Max is on holiday, so say hello, Vox.
Hello, Vox.
For fuck's sake, why does everyone keep doing that?
Off to a good start.
You know I love you, Count. How are you, everyone? Nice to be here, as always, but of course, we also have one other guest tonight, or actually tonight, depends on your time region. The one, the only, Shaka. How you doing, buddy? How's that sexy beard?
Doing well. Beard is fluffy as always.
Good, as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you oil your beard?
I do not, but oh god, this is ridiculous. I do not, but I wash it with a special, like, specifically for curly hair type stuff. So that helps. And it's kind of like a leave-in conditioner. Jesus. I can't believe I'm sharing this. What a question to ask me. Do you oil your beard?
Yes, I have special beard oil.
Oh, see, so I'm not the only one who's vain about their beard.
No. I never said you were.
Oh, well, at least you guys get to have beards, jerks.
The salt is real.
All you have to do is just do the Goku thing where you just squeeze really hard and just wait. Then it'll happen.
Yeah, no, that probably leads to constipation and other things that I don't want to talk about. But thank you for the suggestion, Shaka.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
So, yes, Shaka was originally the team lead of the podcast team and host of the now half-dead, or on its sort of dying breath podcast, Run Right Don't Die. And there are several reasons why he had to take a step back. And if you'd like to address that personally to the audience, then go ahead, Shaka, by all means.
Yeah, so essentially, months ago, when I signed up to get started with GameCast, I was focusing mostly on YouTube, and for those of you that are familiar with what it's like to work on YouTube, even though you are working a lot and long hours, you have a lot more flexibility in your schedule. You can multitask, kind of, while you're editing or while something's processing, you can go do something else. And I found that I had more time to do things. And now I have pivoted and started to do a lot more streaming. In fact, I got an invite to go check out Mixer by a friend of mine who's actually a Mixer partner, who had really, really just skyrocketed in that community. And we had a nice long conversation, and he convinced me to not just try out Mixer, but to in fact go, and this is back when it was still Beam.pro, to go and really focus 100% of my energy on that project, on that particular site. And there's a lot of complicated behind-the-scenes reasons, but in general, it seemed like a really huge opportunity. Things were happening with it that looked like it was going to be getting a big marketing push, and it could be an opportunity to get in relatively early on something that really has something special to offer and get that early land grab and hopefully ride the wave as it grows and really, really become, a fixture in the platform. And those were my hopes and dreams, and in fact, those hopes and dreams seem to be happening. I have grown in leaps and bounds over there, faster than I've ever grown anywhere else. My community on Discord has been explosively growing to the point where it takes a substantial amount of my time to stay up on it, which is a pleasure, but it is time. And all of that is to say that my streaming schedule has taken over my YouTube almost entirely. I basically just post my videos on demand, the VODs from the streams on YouTube these days. Intend to get back to doing edited videos on YouTube on occasion, but right now my primary focus is streaming on Mixer. And the nature of that is that, I'm spending the time that I was spending editing and recording, streaming. The problem is that you can't exactly multitask while you're streaming. When you're streaming, that is all you're doing, and that's it. And so the 6+ hours a day that I'm streaming, plus all of the, all of the other things, managing the community, interacting with my mods, working on all that kind of stuff, it's a big process, and it really is come to grow in such a way that is exciting, but is taking so much of my time that I was not confident that I could provide my I was going to say services. That's not what I meant to say. The that I can keep my commitments and provide the work that I committed to do with GameCast at a level of competence and professionalism and consistency that I would be proud of. And so I made the extremely hard decision to take a step back and become more of a free agent where I can jump in things like this, different podcasts, opinion pieces, whatever. People want to do multiplayer with me, Let's Plays, like I'm 100% down to jump into that kind of stuff. But I had to get away from being in a leadership position, had to get away from being responsible for edited content that I love to do, but really just unfortunately don't have the time for, and could never have imagined the amount of time that has been gobbled up by this really just within the past 2 months project that has just exploded. And so I felt like it was the right and respectful thing to do, to step down and try and stay as involved as I can. That's why I'm here. I love this community. I love the gang here behind the scenes, and I love our viewers. And it's such a cool place and a cool channel that it's really going places, and it's exciting to be a part of. And I didn't want to step away entirely, but I needed to reassess and adjust my commitment level to something that I could maintain and something that I could really give a quality level that I'm proud of. So that's why we're here. And it breaks my heart to step away from what we did and to step outside of that leadership role. It was really a highlight for me. I loved doing it, but I had to make that decision. In fact, I struggled with it actively for over a month and just decided, you know what, I'm just going to make it work. And, I just was not getting enough sleep and submitting things late, and it just wasn't working. And it wasn't right to do that to my team, my co-team members. And it's also not right to do that to our audience. So I had to make a choice. And so here I am. A ringer. I am a free agent floating from some content to content and hanging out with you guys, and I'll still be a regular part of things around here, just a little bit more pulled back, and hopefully can have a bunch of the GameCast team over on the stream joining with me on occasion to do multiplayer and maybe a live podcast or something like that. Get a little cross promotion going on there. So hopefully in the end it'll work out for the best for everyone. But it was a very hard decision, and I miss it already. But it was the right choice.
Well, all we can say is bravo to you, Shaka, man. You really are a big part of the community, and we love having you here. And we understand that sometimes you got to step back and do what you got to do, and that goes for everybody on the GameCast team, not just us. But hell, even though you're still here, thank you for everything you've done for us. We love you, man, and you'll always be here, always be a part of us.
Thank you, man. I definitely am not going anywhere. And, if things continue to grow as they do, my availability will probably continue to shrink. But all that means is that my role will shift more into a partner and shift more into someone that can offer an audience for cross promotion. But I will always remain an advocate for this community because it's a great one.
Well, there we go. That is a rather long explanation, actually, nearly 10 minutes, of the reason that Shaka has he's not leaving, but he's taking a step back. And while he was talking, I also changed his Discord name to Shaka Panda Free Roamer.
Oh, I like that.
So there we go.
Nice.
Well, you had to change. It wasn't podcast anymore. You were
vagabond. Else. Vagabond. I want to be a vagabond.
Vagabond.
A vagabond. Oh, God.
Good day to all you vagabond.
Meanwhile, I've been changed. Obviously, you noticed, Shock. I've been changed from podcast to news team. Count just gobbled me up. He was jealous of our romance.
He was hungry for that sexy voice of yours, man.
No one else can have you.
God, that came off way more creepy than you probably intended, Count.
Nope. Exactly as creepy as I intended.
Oh, I feel sullied and unusual.
Oh, Christ. Let's get into the news. Goody gumdrops, time for the news. The indie scene on PC has been just sort of growing for a while now. In some ways very good, and in some ways, the bloatware on Steam, incredibly bad. There is, of course, a lot more dreck than there is gems, but, we aim to find the best sometimes, and there's a lot of games that are definitely worth your time. Now, the developers behind several of these titles, such as Spelunky and Downwell, to name a few, have decided to make a collaborative effort, which will be a 50-in-1 game.
So kind of like those, well, actually, I don't know if you've ever seen these, Shaka count, but in my home country of Mexico, knockoffs and bootlegs are aplenty. You have no idea how many I've seen on the market. And so there's this little collaborative that they call it Tianguis, which is essentially kind of your flea market type of deal, like garage sale, except it's all bootleg stuff. And so they used to have these like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance cartridges that had like 500 games in one or 50 games in one, or, you know, a ridiculous amount of games that were obviously, you know, like for example, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Yellow, like all these in just one. And obviously these would be horrible, horrible bootlegs that never worked, never saved, but they were still fun to play just because there were so many games on one. So would it be something similar, Count? You know, this like just huge conglomeration of games like those old 8-bit or 16-bit games?
No, but I'm going to tangent already because one of my first ever games, this is technically my dad's, but I still have it, is a 30-in-1 cartridge for the Game Boy. It was Game Boy Color.
Wow.
And it had Super Mario Land, about 50 copies of Tetris on it. There was a Tasmanian Devil game on there as well that I played a lot, and a couple of other things. And I also ended up getting, on a holiday to Spain, a 231-in-1 game that had all of Pokemon Fire Red and all of Pokemon Sapphire, along with a load of NES and SNES games on it. And yeah, that was really good, although the save feature didn't work on most of those things, apart from, bizarrely, the 2 Pokemon games. The save works on that.
Lucky you.
Go figure.
Lucky you. But that is an oddly specific number, 231-in-1. Why 231? It's like
I don't know.
Or 237.5 games on it.
They probably had 230 and they're like, we need to have a 1 on there so we can have that 231-in-1.
Yeah.
So they just added another copy of Tetris, according to Count?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Oh,
well, you know,
Lord.
this collection looks really, really exciting because what they're planning on doing here is having full NES-sized games. Now, granted, NES games back in the day were not anywhere near as big as games are now, but, you know, this is not necessarily going to be in the spirit of a lot of purposefully short experiences. These are NES-like experiences, taking advantage of some of the modern technology, being able to, you know, maybe cut some corners or do some cool tricks that we couldn't do with the power of the NES back in the day, break through, you know, a little bit of the limitations, but at the same time, it's meant to very much be like a 50-pack of new NES games, which I think is really very cool, because so much of the time, packs like this have just a whole lot of kind of like, whatever type games, and there's a handful of really good ones on there. And I'm sure that there will be games that we like more or less, or are more or less popular in this gang of games, this 50 games. But considering who it's coming from and their pedigree and the level of quality and just extraordinary skills that's going on in the devs that are working on this, and with them publicly being very clear, like these are not mini games. These are full-sized NES games. That's a very exciting idea, because it's been a very long time since we've had a new NES game at all, let alone 50 all at once. I mean, this could be a very, very cool experience. You know, who knows how it'll all turn out, but I'm cautiously very optimistic about this. Because I personally am not a big fan of collections for the most part, because it typically seems like most of the time they're just not real good. But this one looks like they're going out of their way to have a big collection of games that are actually full size, actually good. So could be cool.
Which also is going to beg the question, what's the price tag going to be on something like this? I mean, 50 full games in one? That's probably going to have, I see it going two ways. Because they're NES-like experiences, it's either going to be on the lower end of the price spectrum, or, by that same coin, because it's going to be 50 full-size games, it could be pretty expensive. So, we have to wait.
I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark guess about this, because they haven't announced anything to do with price, or release date, but expect it in 2018, apparently. I'm going to guess around £30, which is about $40 That is my guess on the price of this.
That's funny. I was going to say I would be blown away if it was more than 40. I could see them going aggressive, especially because it's going to be just PC digital distribution at first, so they don't have to worry about any physical copies or a lot of the rigmarole you have to jump through to get on consoles. So they might be able to squeak out a slightly more competitive price, but I'd be blown away if it was more than 40.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't sell for more than 40.
No, I don't think so.
Considering it is 50 NES-sized games, bear in mind some of the NES games are pretty large.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, when you think about, like, the original Zelda is still it's
huge.
not a small game, really.
No, not at all.
Exactly. And there's a game that looks very much like a Zelda. Like, all of these games look very much like the sort of mechanics and the styles of old NES games, but sort of maybe refined and brought a bit into the modern age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I can see that selling for about... I'd pay £30 for 50 NES-style games. I think that's a really good...
Oh, sure.
That's a good price point for me.
What was the price of the NES Mini again?
Oh, Christ. £60.
Yeah, and that's... You can't get more games, and it comes with, what, 150 or something like that? So, I mean... I feel like it's all kind of in that range.
Just use a Raspberry Pi emulator because it's cheaper. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. But what I'm saying is that there's precedent for people being willing to pay, more than $5 or $10 for a pack of 8-bit games, that take into consideration the limitations of 8-bit.
The difference is there. One, you're paying for a bit of hardware as well. It's a bit of sort of dull, mundane hardware, but it's what's being paid for with the NES and the SNES Mini is... One, the sort of the hardware and the look of it, because it looks exactly like a NES and a SNES. And two, it's the precise games that are on there. Like, it is Super Mario, like the original Zelda. I don't know what was on the NES Mini, but like, it is those games. It's not something that emulates those games. Although technically, it does run on an emulator. And apparently some of the games on the NES Mini were taken from emulated copies.
Oh, absolutely. No, that was so funny. When I found that out, I was laughing.
Yeah, they got just cracked emulated copies. I was just like, you got caught out. And they didn't acknowledge it either.
There was a special edition for the Wii of Okami. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Okami is a Zelda-like open world game, third-person action-adventure RPG type thing. You play as the Amaterasu, like the sun god, and you play as this like rad, sort of like a Shiba Inu type looking dog, or no, not Akita. It looks like an Akita, a big white Japanese breed dog. It's very cool, but they came out with a special edition because I think it was originally coming out on the PS2, and it came out on the Wii later. And the special edition, the actual insert in the disc case had like half of an IGN watermark on it because they straight up stole the IGN like cover image that they did for the original game that was like, covering the entire screen in their in their promotional materials when they first did the review of the game or something. And so Nintendo was like, that's cool. We'll just take that. Or whoever it was that was working on it. And I remember IGN found that out and did an article on it, and they were like, we see what you did there.
And yet Nintendo is so uptight about copyright. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
They're uptight about other people's copyright.
Hypocrites.
Oh, exactly. We can take your stuff, but don't touch ours, boy.
Of course not. Like a selfish child.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the main difference there, is exact games, which is why I think, yes, this has a market, but it's not as high a price a market as things like the NES and SNES Mini, which is why I guess that price point, which is what I think it'll sell at. But at the same time, it's got some good pedigree behind it, some good indie pedigree behind it, because the list of, I'll go through the games that have been, like, the people who are doing this have made the games. So we've got the Spelunky developer Derek Yu, the Downwell developer Ojiro Fumoto, John Perry, who made Time Barons, Eric Shirk, probably, that person who made Scorpilace, and Paul Halbens, who made Madhouse. So those are the people who are involved with this project. I don't actually know Time Barons, Scorpiolace, or Madhouse, but they can't be that bad because they're worth mentioning. But Spelunky and Downwell are amazing games, and yeah, go and play those games because they're amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting because so much of the time these 8-bit games come as remasters or re-releases, and there's a substantial emotional bank account that they are basically depending on to help get it sold. And this is 50 new NES-style games, and the only emotional bank account that they can cash in on is the fact that the developers have made 2 of some of the best and most well-loved indie games in the recent memory. So I think it's going to definitely be very interesting to see this come out and see how it lands on people. I mean, we've seen that games in this style are absolutely viable. I mean, just, look at Shovel Knight. It's very much in this style, and Shovel Knight is fantastic. So 50 smaller-ish Shovel Knights, deal. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I'm curious how multiplayer is going to work.
Are they saying multiplayer's a thing?
No, I don't know, but I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't do multiplayer just because they're NES-like.
They could probably do, at the very least, local multiplayer.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Fox, do you have any particular thoughts on this before we wrap up?
No, not at all. Just, while Shaka was talking about emotional bank account that they can depend on, I mean, it's also, the feeling of nostalgia. You have to take that into consideration. Maybe it was said already.
That's basically what I meant by emotional bank account,
There we go. It's nostalgia. It's lots and lots of nostalgia. Games like these, it brings back, it harkens memories back to, like, Super Mario Land and, all those types of little side-scroller games that we've come to know and love. Thanks,
totally.
Nintendo.
Yes. So, yes, this looks, in my mind at least, incredibly exciting.
Yes, very.
And it's called UFO 50. I don't know if we mentioned that. And it is going to be something to keep an eye on. I know I will be keeping a very close eye on that. And what I find funny is it says sometime 2018, and then I think about it, 2018 isn't that far away, so this might be released sooner than I think it will be.
Well, it says it should be released expected in sometime in 2018 at the earliest.
At the earliest.
Which is very loose language there. So, we'll see.
Suppose they do have to develop 50 full games, so there is that.
Yeah, no shit, right? So many.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they're doing with it, and it'll be very exciting, and I really hope it's not shit. So let's move on. Tell you what. Those of you who are a fan of Metroidvania games will most assuredly have heard of Metroid, because let's be honest, they gave the former part of that name. And you may also be aware of the game called Ori and the Blind Forest. It is possibly one of the best looking games in existence. It is gorgeous to look at, and it's pretty damn smooth to play as well. In fact, I need to do some more of that, but I have no time, so it doesn't happen.
It's pretty much masterpiece level.
It is. It's pretty damn amazing. And then they did the definitive edition, and if you owned Ori and the Blind Forest already, you got that for free.
I know!
That was so good of them.
Love it when they do that.
Done.
It's the best. It's the best.
That was amazing. That is, a very good thing. And they're developing a sequel called Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which, again, looks amazing and beautiful, and I want it now, but I have to wait, and I really don't want to.
Calm yourself, Count.
So you might think, what's all this? These are kind of disparate things, and we're going to get even more disparate now because a fan remake of the Metroid 2, which was called AM2R, a Metroid 2 remake, probably?
Another Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah, another Metroid 2 remake, yeah.
Oh, is that what it stands for? Okay. So that was launched in September last year, and pretty damn good, to be honest.
For a short while, anyway.
Oh, did it get taken down? Oh, Nintendo, you bunch of bastards with your copyright bullshit. So, that was a very good thing, developed by a man by the name of Milton Guasti.
Gosty. Milton Gosty.
Gosty. That man there, whose name I probably won't try and pronounce again. Made it all himself as a very sort of personal project. And now he has been, he's been hired, or he has joined Moon Studios, who are the developers of Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori Will of the Wisps, which means he is apparently, according to a tweet, going to be working on the level design for the second Ori game.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Interesting, yes.
I know.
I think it's very interesting. You know, obviously, it's exciting to have someone who is of that kind of pedigree, of that kind of you know, level of hard work. I mean, this is a guy who remade, and upgraded in some ways. Did a couple things to add a little extra funk in there, I guess, if you want to say. And apparently, it took 10 years, passion project level, to put this together. And it's awesome to have someone.
And it got, oh no, that makes it worse.
Yeah.
That's
no.
Pokemon Uranium, because it got taken down.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, see, here's the thing. I think that what's exciting about this is twofold. One, to have someone like that be participating in the sequel to a series that's already set off as one of the best. I mean, I think there are people that would easily consider Ori and the Blind Forest the best Metroidvania game, period. I don't know if I would say that, but it's up there, man. It's one of the best, for sure. And so to have someone like that come in and be able to add even more awesome to the awesome sauce that is already there. But on top of that, I think that the thing that's the most exciting part about this is it's fantastic to see someone like Milton Gosti, who worked as a passion project by himself for 10 years to learn how to do all this stuff and then give the world this gift. And then to have Nintendo take it down so quickly, that's so sad and so brutal. And if that was the end of the story, it would be a sad story. But now, him developing all that, putting all that hard work in there, giving that to everyone, and then having it taken away isn't the end of the story. Now, all of that work has led him to being able to be a part of the sequel to one of the greatest Metroidvania games of all time. So I think that in the end, it's almost more of like a human story than a and then this is coming out. Isn't that exciting? Like, that's there. And I'm excited about this next game. But really, it's more like it just warms my heart a little bit to see someone who worked so hard and then got slapped down by Nintendo's silly bullshit. And then, boom, here we are a little while later, and this guy actually is getting to somehow reap the rewards and get a little acknowledgement for all the hard work that he did. It's pretty cool.
It's a wonderful underdog story when you really think about
Absolutely.
it. You have this corporate giant slapping down your project that you poured your heart and soul into, at points quite literally, and, now you're getting recognized by this great studio. So, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody...
It's done him well. He's done good from it. Yes. Also, if you want another good Metroidvania, Headlander by Double Fine is also incredibly lovely. I enjoyed that game very much. Just thought I'd bring that up. I love these kinds of stories because you see something just happens and makes it all better again. And it's these kinds of things that put a little bit of faith back in humanity for you.
Well, video games on our side of things so much of the time is about love and passion and history and nostalgia. The romance of it all, of, waking up on Christmas morning and getting your new console, or plugging in with your friends and playing after school, or, all that. It's so much of our, the way that we think about and feel about video games as a subject is very emotional and very much comes from a place of love and history. And you can tell that that's where Milton was coming from with something like this. And to have such a pure expression of just, I love this, I love video games, I love Metroid, because that's all he was trying to say. And then the realities of, no, this is actually a business and this is violating copyright, and Nintendo is uptight about copyright. And at the end of the day, Nintendo is not about love and kindness and, nostalgia. Nintendo is about making money because they're a business. And that's very clear in the way that they deal with things. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's very clear in the way that they deal with things. And so it's nice to see someone who's clearly in it for the love of it and, actually, basically not getting completely a disillusioned story in the end, but to be able to do something for the love of it and then have it actually lead to a real life-changing kind of event where he gets hired by a company that's already well-known, that's already done good work, and is moving towards much anticipated work. So it's really pretty cool, because sometimes that division, sometimes that sort of duality to video games as a subject is really painful. You know, to see, we love it so much. It's so much of a passion thing for us. But then at the same time, it's a business. These things aren't going to work unless they hire people and people get paid. And I mean, that's real concerns. And so it's not unreasonable for there to be things like copyright and that kind of stuff. But it's so hard sometimes to rectify that, to make it make sense. And so it's neat to see someone who just loves video games and just wants to make good video games get something nice happening to them. It's a good thing.
Yes, because there's far too many digital homicides in the world, and we need more of these kinds of people instead.
Definitely.
Video games. Why do you have to be such a business?
Video games.
I miss the days when video games were actually about, like, you know, video games and not so much money.
What?
Such wishful thinking.
Heresy!
Such wishful thinking. But, you know, and don't judge me, fellas, but this is also Nintendo related. As much as we all seem to have this opinion of Nintendo, because yes, they are kind of dicks for taking down this guy's, you know, work. Like, it's 10 years of work. I am a smidgen hyped for Metroid Prime 4. Don't judge me.
Of course. Of course.
Oh yeah. Well,
How could you not be?
You're perfectly allowed to be hyped for like Metroid Prime 4 or the actual official remake of Metroid 2, which is Metroid Return of Samus, which I also want because that looks really good as well.
Well,
you're allowed to be hyped for these things while still being angry at Nintendo for doing another thing.
Of course, of course. Let's hope that the Metroid Return of Samus remake will be as good, if not better, than another Metroid 2 remake, because that is a pretty tough thing to top. I mean, this guy did very good work on that fan game, so let's hope that Nintendo gets their boxers in a... Why was I about to say let's hope they get their boxers in a twist? Let's hope they get their pants up and actually get on this.
Beautiful. That was genuinely
I know, it was
beautiful.
Poetry. I should write a book.
Do.
Destiny 2, the game with still more hype than is necessary, none of which is affecting me, is now doing a really good job at getting rid of even more hype from me somehow by partnering with Rockstar Energy Drinks and Pop-Tarts for in-game DLC and XP boosts.
Ah, so they're doing that Call of Duty crap, huh?
Fuck.
Yeah, they're doing that Call of Duty crap. Buy more Doritos.
So this game just moves deeper and deeper into bro game territory, apparently.
God. I think it was sort of marketed as like the bro game sci-fi thing.
Well, I mean, it is by the people that made Halo, which is kind of like the first big bad bro game. You know, here's the thing that cracks me up about this is it's like, yeah, fine, branded stuff and XP boosts, and you know, we've seen it with Rockstar, we've seen it with Mountain Dew, we've seen it with all kinds of shit. But the thing that cracks me up is that they clearly have data that their demographic drinks and eats these things, because they wouldn't be like, and here is some organic free-range chicken eggs for you, and inside 1 out of every 10 chicken egg, you're going to find an XP boost thing. Like, that's not real. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do that with things like that. They're going to do it with stuff that people that actually are going to buy that play this game. So clearly and again, they're not going to probably do it as a shot in the dark. So no doubt they actually, somewhere, there is a spreadsheet that says that the player base for Destiny 2 drinks lots of Rockstar and eats Pop-Tarts. Like, that's absolutely a real thing that they knew, like, aha, we found our vulnerability. It's a white space in the market. Brand those Pop-Tarts, bitch. Like, I'm just imagining like a legion of people getting up to raid and being like, oh, I gotta get myself some Rockstar. Oh, I'm hungry. Pop those Pop-Tarts in, bitch. Like, that's what's happening.
I will say, s'mores Pop-Tarts during like a raid or while playing Doom multiplayer. Oh, so
oh my God, it's all true. You're one of them, Vox. You're one of them.
I'm sorry. I like s'mores Pop-Tarts. I mean, not just during gaming, any time of day. So, yeah, they've got that one at least.
You know, if they wanted to brand something that would work for me for Gamer Fuel, it would be like cheese sticks. Like if I'm really hungry and don't have time because I'm busy, yeah, just like get like a string cheese sort of thing, because that stuff is fast, easy, and makes your stomach shut up so you can get back to the game.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like mozzarella sticks from like Fridays and stuff. Oh,
No, like string cheese, like what little children have in their lunchbox.
Oh, yeah, they're called cheese strings here.
Cheese string. Okay,
that's
fine.
because
Cheese strings.
you people do everything backwards.
Oh God, let's not.
No, because
let's
there's
not go
strings
there.
of cheese, so
Don't
it's
do
just
it.
cheese strings.
Anyway, yes, that's what I have. It's like I'm hungry, but I don't want to make anything. Cheese strings.
Fair enough. Apparently, I didn't actually remember this. Destiny 1 had a Red Bull promotion, so technically this is nothing new. They're just doing
Energy drinks and junk food, man.
Yeah, they're really going for the hardcore bro gamers. Oh man, I've just looked at the packaging on the Pop-Tarts as well.
Yeah, it's
Brutal,
weird,
right?
but I mean they're promoting this stuff. It's like you're trying to get your audience or your target demographic to play die.
That's amazing.
Maybe you'll die while playing Destiny 2.
I wonder how many people are going to get this just for the XP. Like that's the like they're going to get it and then just
Far
going to have like
too many people.
just throw them away. It's going to happen.
They will
it's totally
do it.
going to happen.
Wouldn't it just be easier to buy like in-game XP boosts? Like, let's be honest here. Wouldn't it just be easier to do that instead of wasting perfectly good food? I'm not bitter.
How are Pop-Tarts perfectly good food?
No, they're not.
Hey! You got something against Pop-Tarts? Shaka. I will go, bro.
Turn the box around and read things. That's all you need to know.
Let me live in my
refuse.
world. Let me live in my
refuse.
world.
I don't like Pop-Tarts. I tried them once. They are really boring. To be fair, British sort of sweets and sweet food it's a lot sweeter than yours is.
Really?
I
Like,
thought yours was
There
healthier.
is a very appreciable difference.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I went over to America. This is the first time I was 11, and I was just like, "What the fuck is this?" I was just like, "This is all really shit." I couldn't eat any of the sweets because they were just really boring to me. They tasted like
funny.
nothing.
See, I would have thought it was the other way because the first time that I had something distinctly, English, right, is like the scone. And of course, I'm like, that.
Oh, the scone's not a fucking sweet. That's just
I
a
know.
bit of
I found that out the hard way because it was like, this is just a clump of dough. That's it.
He is an expert.
Yeah. Did you not have a fruit scone?
No, I just had a scone. I went and bought a scone at a store.
That's
I
like
figured
the
it was going to be
worst
good.
thing.
I was wrong.
What you get a fruit scone which has got raisins or sultanas in them. Then you put some butter on it. Then you
there
put
you go.
some jam on it, and then
Oh.
you put some clotted cream if you're feeling really fancy instead of butter.
So I was missing the butter and jam. All right. Makes sense.
And just remember
Makes sense.
that.
Yes.
And just remember that all these scones also come with an XP boost from Destiny.
That's right. That's right. So basically what you're saying is I went out and took something that is essentially a cracker and was like, why is this so flavorless?
Bingo.
How did we go from Pop-Tarts to scones? How did this happen?
Scoon!
Ladies and gentlemen, the time you've all been waiting for. It's time for Count to display his salt level. Take it away, Count.
Salt level 150.
No, we're going to salt levels of over 9,000
Over
today.
9,000 salts!
Old memes.
Actually, I
Make it
think you'll find
stop.
in the manga it said over 8,000, not 9,000.
Okay. Have a good podcast, guys. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Oh, no!
Oh, God. Yes, I am gonna be incredibly salty now because
Same.
Middle-earth Shadow of War, a game that I was looking forward to. In fact, in my second ever news episode that I did on my own channel, I talked about it and I was like, this looks really good and I really, really want to play it. And now they have added loot boxes, payable microtransaction buying loot boxes. That is correct. And they've made it worse by saying, well, I don't know if they said it directly or it's just the stupid fanboy saying it's not going to affect, it's not pay to win, despite the fact that you can use the products from these loot boxes in the online ranked mode on Shadow of War that's going to exist, and you can use the stuff you buy from the crates in that. So yes, they have made Shadow of War a pay-to-win game in the online element. So you're wrong. And that's fucking bullshit, and I hate everything, and I do not want this game anymore. I'm not even exaggerating. I don't want it.
You know what's funny? I'm looking at the screenshot from Eurogamer, and this looks remarkably a lot like Overwatch's loot box system. Just imagine it. Just replace the characters with Overwatch characters.
Yeah, can I point out, though, in the Overwatch loot system, the only thing that you are paying for... I don't like the Overwatch loot system, incidentally. I think it's fucking bullshit in a different way. But the only thing you pay for, or the only thing you get from there, is cosmetic things. Nothing that affects gameplay. The things you get from these loot boxes are orcs for your army, which do affect the gameplay. It affects the game in a way that is not purely cosmetic. So... even in the single player, it is technically pay to win.
Wow. A single player... Wow. Okay.
Single player pay to win. What does that remind me of? Oh, yes. Dead Space 3.
It's okay, so it's so much more complicated than that, though. They have 3 different kinds of things, right? So you have loot chests, war chests, and XP boosts and bundles. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the loot chest things, suboptimal, but not necessarily game-breaking. If you don't want to take the time to wander around and find, and worship at the feet of the RNG gods to try and find something cool, like, I appreciate shortcuts around RNG god drop rate bullshit. I understand that some of us don't have the time to run the same stupid freaking dungeon 15 times a night, 3 days a week, to be able to get that one stupid thing that has a few more percentages up. Like, that's ridiculous. So I can understand some real-world shortcuts for people that would rather spend money than time because they don't have the time to spend. However, things, and in addition to that, honestly, and I need to see more about the kind of weapons you're going to get, because apparently in the loot chests, you're going to get weapons and armor of varying rarity. And they can also contain XP boosts, which I do not approve of. Which is really, really damn ridiculous. I don't like the XP thing at all. That's a problem. That affects the game itself. That affects the game balancing. That's a serious problem. I'll get into why in a moment. But the war chests, I could get behind the war chests. The war chests provide orc followers of varying rarity, which can help you create a strong army. So they say on the Eurogamer article. And the thing that's interesting about that is that you can also, basically what it does is it essentially allows you to roll the dice and get a box which gives you an orc which you can add to your army, but you can still add orcs to your army in other ways. You can go and you can actually dominate an orc just like in the previous game. And so if you want to have a legendary level orc, you could open a bunch of war chests like a wuss, or you can actually go out, find one, beat it down, and then dominate it. So you can still go get one. It's not like getting these is necessarily a huge leg up. It's just, it's a shortcut sort of situation, but it is a shortcut to things that you can just go do. You can just go choose to do, which seems sort of like, whatever. I don't really feel like any of these things need to be or belong in the game. But I could see some stuff that's really more just a little bit time saver, a little bit flavor stuff, whatever. Where it becomes a problem is things like XP boosts, or even, and it very well could be this way, things like basically all of these, the loot chests, the war chests, all that, because they actually give you in-game items that increase your ability to get stronger. It's a knife's edge that you can walk if you move out of the realm of only flavor items. I don't like microtransactions as a rule, but if there are microtransactions, the only thing that they should do is flavor items ever, period. That's it, end of story. What Overwatch does, love it or hate it, the only things that any of that does is it gives you emotes, it gives you voice over things to say, voice command type things. It gives you different types of cash or the coins that you can spend on purchasing different kinds of skins. It's like, does not give you any kind of bonus in the game whatsoever at all. It's just, I like this game and I want that cool outfit. That's it. Someone in a totally base everything could still mop the floor with you. It doesn't matter at all. And that, I think, is the healthiest way to do all of this, because people still totally want cool flavor shit. They do. They absolutely do. You know, but anytime that it has anything to do with actually giving you a leg up in the game, especially if it's I was going to say instead of, but almost more especially if you can, in supposedly air quotes, get those by playing. The problem is that then the temptation, it actually behooves the company monetarily to make the game's progression tedious, to encourage you to purchase things to shorten it up and make it faster and give you cooler shit sooner. You know, I just do not believe that they are going to actually make this game indiscernible from a game without without microtransactions. If you choose to completely ignore the microtransactions, I do not believe that the progression of the game, that the systems of the game, that the nuanced, necessary to have perfectly well-balanced experience of playing the game, leveling up, increasing your skills, getting cool runes for your weapons, or whatever they were called. I think they were runes. Getting new weapons, getting new abilities, all that kind of stuff was so well balanced. The progression felt solid and smooth and clean last time around. And anything that affects that you can spend money on to jump and take, skip over certain challenges, time spent, or whatever. Anytime that the company goes, well, somebody could just play this, and if we made it so that it doesn't feel obnoxious to have to go through it without purchasing anything, then no one's going to purchase anything. And so maybe it'll only be a little bit, but historically, whenever a video game does anything but flavor items for microtransactions, the game itself, like the actual game separate from all of this stuff, gets tweaked to encourage you to purchase these things. And how do they tweak it? Things like XP boosts. Why would you purchase an XP boost? I just don't feel like I'm leveling up fast enough. This is taking too long. I'll get an XP boost. That way I'll level up at a faster rate. Why do you say those things? Because the game is leveling you too fucking slow. Because they make the game be obnoxious, be frustrating. They basically put things in the game that are frustrating to deal with and then give you a way to give them more money to make them not frustrating when they shouldn't be frustrating in the first place. It's disgusting. So is it possible for them to do a good job with this? Maybe. Is it likely? No. That's how I feel.
Clearly.
I quite agree, because let's be honest. Because in a statement, it's Warner Bros., I think it made the statement, said that gold doesn't give you any advantage over other players. A player who invests enough time to progress in the same amount and have access to the same content as a player who purchases gold. And also, it's not necessary to enjoy the complete game experience simply by engaging with the world and playing through Middle-earth, like gear for Talion and unique orcs for your army. So basically what they're saying is, you don't need to do the microtransactions. So what that says to me is one of two things. Either the microtransactions weren't there in the first place, and as Monolith were forced to put them in there by Warner Brothers in much the same style that, Squeenix forced the developers to put microtransactions into Deus Ex Mankind Divided, or, much like you said, they've tweaked the gameplay to make it so that you want to pay for the microtransactions. Either way, they come across as greedy bastards, the lot of them, because if they've been put in there retroactively, that just means that they decided they wouldn't get enough money from just selling a game that loads of people wanted, so they want more money. Or if they put them in there in the first place, they were literally just made this game as a cash cow, nothing else.
Yeah, it's really troublesome, this trend of microtransactions taking over, being in everything. You know, we keep coming back to Overwatch because it's one of the more popular games, and microtransactions are a big part of that ecosystem. However, it doesn't affect the gameplay progression, play to win at all. None. Zero. It's just flavor items.
It doesn't,
and
but at
like
the same time,
before,
I still don't like Overwatch's loot system because it's too you can get duplicate items. I hate that. That is the worst idea. Like, yeah, it gets broken up into currency, but it gets broken up into such a small amount of currency that you might as well have not been given the item. I hate Overwatch's loot system because of that.
I think it just sounds like you hate loot systems in general, because Overwatch is one of the least offensive ones. And I don't disagree with you. I don't like the idea of loot systems. I don't think that they really belong in video games.
Especially not ones you have to fucking pay for in the first place.
It's an abuse. It is a extremely easy to abuse system that was pioneered on mobile games, which we all know is a steaming dumpster fire of garbage. So, looking at you, Vox.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring it up. I knew it. I was waiting for it. Don't judge me for my love of Goddess Kiss. I like that game. Don't judge me. Anime girls.
You just like anime booty,
don't lie.
There was
three of us on that when we were talking about it as well. Even better. It's come full circle.
And you know, Shaka, I feel like we've had this discussion about microtransactions before in a previous podcast. I don't know why. It's just ringing a bell for me.
Oh, probably, because anytime microtransactions come up, it's not... See, the thing about this is that microtransactions are not complicated. They have a very distinct set of problems. They can be easily abused, and they can mess with the very fabric of the game's progression to make it tedious to try and force you or encourage you to purchase things, which then destroys the experience for everyone else that doesn't want to pay it. And that's a very, very difficult thing to strike. And, or they're just superfluous added on garbage. It's just the thing of it is that I think at top level, the thing that I would like is for them to just go away, but they're not gonna. You just have to ignore them. But the problem is that they put a game at vulnerability to be abusive with the player with their market practices. And that's what bothers me. And the fact that it can affect the bedrock progression of a game in an effort to make it feel like it's taking too long, or the percentage likelihood of me picking this up is too low, and I feel like I have to grind too much to get this, or even something as simple as I don't have enough inventory. I need to get a microtransaction or join the monthly whatever for this MMO because I just don't have enough damn inventory. It's like they use these things that are just like, hey, so we're going to take your shoe away and then run away from you and not give it back to you unless you buy it from us. That's essentially what's happening. You get into a game, and the game should be an experience that you enjoy and play and overcome challenges and feel the victory therein, and has a decent, smooth as possible, difficulty curve and learning curve. And what they do is they basically stretch that thing out, make it take longer, be more tedious, remove resources that should be there in the first place to make the game not obnoxious to play, and then they dangle them in front of you behind a paywall. It's ugly. It's just ugly. And it's the same problem every time. But I was going to say, top level, what really bothers me about this is that when I'm playing a video game, I don't want to be thinking about real world anything. I don't want to be thinking about, well, if I had more gold, then I could get this cool thing in a video. Oh, that's right. I could spend some, well, how much money do I have in my bank account? Oh, that's right. I'm getting paid on Friday. Oh, yeah, and I have to pay these bills. And it pulls you right out of the experience of playing a video game, which is the whole fucking point. You sit down to play a video game and you're not thinking about paying your bills and going to work and depositing your check and all that dumb shit that we don't want to have to deal with when we're playing video games, and having that stupid little icon of two different types of income, the game money and then the real money. Having that exist in a game at all is immersion breaking, along with all these other problems on top of that. But that top level is the problem. I just want it to go away. I want it to go away. Make it go away, please. Count on that.
So when this section was supposed to be called Snowy's Salt after me, I might have to change that this week to Shaka's Salt.
Salty panda. Scoon.
So that's it for this week's GameCast Newscast. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope Shaka didn't get too distressed by the lack of proper structure. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give a like, a subscribe, a share, anything you fancy like that, or a dislike if we offended you in some way, shape or form. And yes, you can see all of our social links in the description below, or join in with our Discord, which is a fun little community and growing quite nicely now, actually. We're getting quite a few people in our little public Discord space. Yeah, feel free to join that. There's a link in the description that'll take you to that. And now, time for the self-promotional shilling part. And let's start with our guest for this week. Shaka, where can we find you and all your loveliness?
Yes. Well, I stream many days a week for many hours over on mixer.com/ShakaPanda. You can find me on youtube.com/ShakaPandaPlays, and probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is over on Twitter @ShakaPanda. And yeah, I'm all over the place. And if all links to all my other things are just at shakapanda.com. Easy sort of hub place to find all my stuff. So hope to see you guys on there sometime.
Beautiful. And Vox, the voice, 106.7, where can we find you?
Well, more often than not, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me under the Count's thumb. I'm not salty at all. But you can find me on YouTube at The Voice 106.7. I don't have a custom URL yet because YouTube doesn't like me. You can find me on Twitter at The Voice 106_7. You can find me on VidMe, also at The Voice 106.7. Basically anywhere that my name is on there, you can find me. Just Google me. I'll be there. I'm kind of all over the place as well. But, of course, we save the best for last. Count, where can we find you?
You can find me in many places. You can find me doing the news on GameCast and usually hosting our team streams at the moment. And finding me doing this, funnily enough. You can also find me on YouTube at youtube.com/snowymetalnerddude.field. Mouthful, and I hate it. And also on Twitch at Metal Nerd Dude. And you can find me on Twitter at Snowy.field. And photography at spectrumphotography.co.uk if you're interested. Why not? There we go. That is everything, I think. That's all of us promoted. And that is the end of another GameCast newscast. So thank you to our guest, Shaka Panda, for joining us.
Anytime.
And thank you, Vox, as well, for being my co-host this week.
Someone save me.
And that's also, thank you all very much for watching, and we will all see you next time for more news-related, tangent-filled banter.